Kids these days don't know about hello.jpg. Oh, dude, hello.jpg was the best every morning. Every morning you hop on IRC. What's up, guys? How's it going? How are we doing today? Hello, hey, hi, how you doing? And then someone sends hello.jpg. Right there, it's the 50-50 game. Is this a cute picture of a cat, or is this some horrific image, right? Like, it's... this is something super gross. That's just how it was back then. That's how it was. You know? Fellow millennials remember the Zune wars. I didn't have one. I was team didn't have one because I didn't have money for one. I never had one. I had a cassette player, and then I never owned my own CD player. One of my brothers had a portable one. Actually, no, we had one between all of us. It was just that one of them would steal it all the time. And then, yeah, he would always have it. And then I got, not the first ever iPod. I got the one that was a long, thin rectangle. Which one was that? iPod Nano. I had a silver iPod Nano. I had that. I remember I saved up money and I was working. And I loved music, and I hadn't had a CD player. I was still on cassettes, and I was like, I just want this. Because I listen to music a lot. And I went and got a Nano. And then, yeah, then I didn't own any other music-related devices until cell phones could, like, do all that later. Which took me a long while because, man, what phone did I have? I had like one phone around that time, and then I used it until it fucking died. I used it until it crumbled. It was like physically like dying. The buttons to dial on it were falling apart. I remember one of my buttons on my phone. This was when you had like the regular 9 numbers kind of thing. No, I didn't have a BlackBerry. That cost money. I had some garbage shit flip phone, and it was not a cool one, and it didn't have internet on it. It didn't have anything, and I used that for forever. And then like the number keys started falling off, and I still just remembered where they were and pressed the exposed button backing instead of like getting a new one because I didn't have money. And then yeah, I was broke. And then eventually I got one of the like early smartphones, but it was one of the shitty ones because again, I didn't have the money to get any of the nice stuff. So I got a really shitty one, and I remember it had a touch screen that was pressure based instead of heat based. So nowadays all touch screens you can tap it lightly. This one you have to press.
Why? Because
it's terrible.
Xander is a saying to explain chaos.
Okay. Samsung Blackjack? No. I had something really shitty. It didn't have a keyboard. No, it did. It had a... It wasn't a Palm Pilot. Oh my god, I wonder if I could find it. I think it was one of the old Samsung phones. It might have been. Okay. It wasn't exactly this phone, but it was similar. It was like one of these. It had a touch screen, but it was pressure sensitive. And it had like a back button, a home button, and a call button, just like this. It had like no games, nothing like that. You could not put random apps on it either. It could not use like YouTube or anything. These were stinky phones. This was not a good phone. This was a shitty one for poor people, or that's how I got treated when using it. But I think the one I had, oh my god, it might have been like Pantech. It was one of those not cool brands. It was not an actual Samsung phone. It was not that. It was one of those like brands that was, it's like the equivalent of a Mad Catz controller. You know what I mean? Like when you have your official Nintendo controllers and then you hand your cousin the shitty Mad Catz one. It was like that, but cell phones. It was not Motorola. It was not HTC. Pre-Android smartish phone. Yeah. It was garbage. I had that thing for forever. I had that thing for so long. And then eventually, I got an iPhone because my dad had gotten one and gave me his old one, which meant that I got an iPhone, and the one I got handed was already like 4 years old or something. And I said, yes, because I didn't have a smartphone until then. So I grabbed that phone. and used it, and it could go on the internet, which was so cool. It was really slow and shitty, but at least I had it. And then I realized I didn't like Apple products that much unless it was an iPod. And then I used that forever. I used that forever until I had a, you know, normal ass job that paid well enough that I was okay spending money. Because I had jobs, but I was saving really hard. So, you know, smartish phones ever went too quick. It was very narrow. And I fortunately got one of those. And then that was the thing I had to live with for a long time. It was terrible. It was terrible. Anyway, I had a shitty home PC, so I was fine having a shitty phone. Because I was like, I don't need a smartphone. You had a Pantech Duo? What does that look like? Oh, yeah. It could slide both ways. Yeah. I think my old phone might have been a Pantech, but it wasn't the Duo. It looked like the one I showed. No, it didn't have a slide-out keyboard, though, the one I had. It had the shittiest on-screen keyboard you could ever imagine. I don't know what I had. Maybe it wasn't Pantech. But it was a lot like that. It was a really shit phone. It was terrible. Did one of my brothers do? Yeah, one of my brothers had one of these. Pantech phone with a slide-out keyboard. And I thought that shit was cash money. I thought that shit was so cool. And I was like, oh my God, you get a whole keyboard? Oh my God. And I wanted one so badly, but I was like, if I would have had to buy it myself. So I just didn't. I just didn't. Couldn't bring myself to do it, man. No thanks. Yeah, real letters. I was really fast at typing on, you know, the 10-button keyboard. The 1 through 0. I was really good at that. T9, yeah. Yeah, the Sony Ericsson slider. It was cool, yeah, because it had like all the music shit on it. I don't know. The only thing I really wanted the phone for, besides calling, was music, but I had that singular iPod Nano, and that shit carried me for forever. There was nothing wrong with that device, so I used it for a very long time. I still have it somewhere, and I could plug it in and charge it. I actually did within the past, like, 5 years. I was like, oh, I wonder what music I have on here, and then, like, you know, looked at it and was like, holy shit. Like, you ever look at an old playlist from, like, I don't know, how many years ago was that? 15, 20 years ago? When was the iPod Nano? I don't know, but I looked back at it and I was, like, astounded. I'm not going to do it. Now I'm negatively going to do it. I will remember that someone in chat wanted me to do that, and I will refuse to look it up because you said that 3 times.